Hello, Gordon. This is Mike Smith, KSMU, and it's my pleasure to record for you these features that we ran on your receiving the 2002 Missouri Arts Award. The first one is the piece that ran the morning that you were there here from KSMU. It starts off like this. In Jefferson City today, 4 individuals and 1 organization will each receive the 2002 Missouri Arts Award. Initiated in 1983, the award is Missouri's highest honor to individuals and institutions that have made profound and lasting contributions to the cultural and artistic landscape of the state. Missouri Arts Award nominees were reviewed by a committee of highly respected Missouri citizens from throughout the state who are knowledgeable and experienced in the arts. This year, award recipients and associated categories include the Kansas City Ballet for Arts Organization, St. Joseph resident Beatrice Grimes for Philanthropy, St. Louis resident Bill Kohn for Individual Artist, Sikeston resident Linda Melkersman for Arts Education, and for Leadership in the Arts, this year's Missouri Arts Award goes to Springfieldian Gordon McCann.
I was very surprised to get it, to say the least. I'm glad that it's being done, and not because I'm getting the honor. I'm a kind of a low-key person. I'd like to kind of stay in the background, but because it's recognizing our traditions and heritages.
The Missouri Arts Award is recognition of Gordon McCann's efforts in documenting the musical traditions of the Ozarks. Since the mid-1970s, McCann has traveled all over the area, recording traditional Ozarks fiddle music performed at square dances, pie suppers, and down-home pickin' parties. McCann's audio archive contains over 4,000 hours of material.
And I really got involved with this at Emanuel Wood's Ozark Opry down on the northeast corner of the square in Ozark. It was in an old false front store building, and absolutely the only thing holding it up was it was between 2 other buildings. Talk about atmosphere. The musicians sat up in what would have been kind of the window well area. You know, these old stores had a display window and then a recessed entrance. And then there was this long room, and there was one probably 150-watt light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And back in the back was a great big old pot-bellied stove. And then there were chairs along the walls. And then the other was more or less a dance floor when they would get up and square dance every once in a while. And I started taping to learn the tunes. I'd go home in my basement, where I was banished to anyway with my music, and I would sit over in a corner and play along with the tunes. That's how I was learning how to play with them. And that's what really got me hooked on getting interested into it then, you know. And of course, then I met the man that was to be my partner for 17 years, Art Galbraith, who was very well educated, very articulate. And he's the one that really guided me into all this folk music, traditional music world.
Over the years, Gordon McCann has worn out 4 or 5 tape recorders in his quest to document the musical traditions of the Ozarks, and he says a few more may have to be replaced in the years to come.
I go Thursday night to Mansfield. There's a big public jam there that's very good. Or Friday night I go out to a fellow's house north of town that's been having a house party there for I don't know how many years now. Listen, I could go for 2 weeks straight, and I'm not exaggerating. I could go for 2 weeks straight to a music function of some kind. Most of it be house parties and public jams, and not repeat a single one. And I know of many more that I just hadn't had time to get to. The Ozarks is still full of this music.
Springfieldian Gordon McCann, whose tireless efforts to document traditional Ozarks fiddle music will be officially recognized today. A sampling of McCann's recordings have been transcribed to 3 compact discs by Rounder Records. Just look for Traditional Fiddle Music of the Ozarks, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Gordon McCann will receive the Missouri Arts Award at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the Rotunda of the Capitol in Jefferson City. Reporting for KSMU News, I'm Mike Smith. You're listening to KSMU, and this is Morning Edition. A native Springfieldian receives a statewide award for his work to preserve Ozarks culture. Missy Shelton reports from Jefferson City.
The Missouri Arts Award for Leadership in the Arts went to Springfieldian Gordon McCann during a ceremony at the state capitol Wednesday. The governor and First Lady presented McCann with the award. Then McCann took the microphone.
To say I'm overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed when I learned I received this award, just to put it mildly. I didn't even know I had been nominated for it. And outwardly I said, well, that's thank you very much. But inwardly I was saying, hallelujah. After all these years of running around the hills and hollers of the Ozarks, finally some justification to all this time I'd spent doing this.
McCann says he's been recording traditional Ozarks music since the 1970s. He says he's always been a musician himself, but put it aside when he got married, had kids, and opened a business. Then, he says, back in the 70s, something revived his interest.
There was an article in the paper about Emanuel Wood's Ozark Opry on the square in Ozark. And my wife and I went down there, and this was an old building. The only thing holding it up was it was between two other buildings, literally. One big 150-watt bulb hanging down, and big pot-bellied stove, and a bunch of musicians in a circle up where the display window used to be. And it was like stepping back into another century, because the people there were from way down in the hills and from surrounding areas, and the music too. And so that started my addiction to this music.
Addiction to the music and the culture of the Ozarks has led to the creation of McCann's collection of more than 4,000 hours of traditional music. The Missouri Arts Council recognized McCann's commitment to documenting the arts and history of the Ozarks with the Leadership Award. Noree Boyd, executive director of the council, explains how McCann was chosen.
He was chosen through a competitive process and came right up to the top. We had arts executives and artists and board members from all around the state that came together and reviewed. We had over 60 applications for the 5 awards, and they came and deliberated and made their recommendations for the 5 awardees.
McCann says the award is something that recognizes the importance of Ozarks culture, not just his own work. He says the people on his tapes, some of whom died years ago, are now being honored through the presentation of this award. And it's by accident that McCann has more than just the music of these people on tape.
See, at first, I would forget to turn the tape recorder off. I started taping these to learn the tunes. I didn't know that many of these old traditional tunes. And then I'd go down, I was always banished to the basement. I'd get down the corner of the basement and play along with these tunes and learn them. Well, there's times I forgot to turn it off, and I'd get all this dialogue. Well, the more I listened to this dialogue, the more I realized that this was as important as the tunes themselves, because these fellows were 1 and 2 generations older than I was, and a lot of discussion about music functions in the late 19th century and up into the early part that are all gone now, and these fellows are all gone now.
Other recipients of the Missouri Arts Awards include the Kansas City Ballet and Bill Kohn, a St. Louis artist. The Missouri Arts Council has handed out the award since 1983. From the state capitol, I'm Missy Shelton for KSMU News.